When a group of young Thai men are admitted as new recruits into the army in 1941, everyone has their picture taken. They then sneak into the pier, where Mok lets them peek inside a boat for a few coins. When it turns out that a soldier is having sex with a woman, his teammates spy on him and become preoccupied with their hands. Before long, the captain shows up and yells at Mok about his small matter. While he storms into the boat to reprimand the others, he makes Mok work out. The team runs away after Mok and his friend, who were not paying attention, throw a net over the captain. The captain appears on the road to stop them and moves quickly as well. He then makes them work out on the beach for hours as a form of punishment. In the end, the guys play with the waves. Mek, Mok's brother, finds out that Pen, his girlfriend, is expecting a child. He pulls out a ring to pop the question because he is so thrilled about the news, and Pen accepts. They are interrupted by a terrified fisherman who leaps from his boat and tells me he saw enemy ships approaching. Later, the Thai military leaders have a meeting with the Japanese team to negotiate. Dr. Kaido explains that Japan will use Thailand as a base in order to advance into China and India. He notes that the Thai government consented to give them supplies and pay war reparations. Additionally, Kaido shows them their experimental biological weapon through a video. Before his face turns horrifying, a man writhes in pain for a few minutes. If Thailand refuses to cooperate, Japan will use this weapon even though it does not want to fight its allies. The Thai commander explains that he must at least put up a show of resistance before agreeing to give Japan their base. The young soldiers must get ready for battle and the troops are put on high alert after that, but Mok chooses to return home. When the captain arrives, he tells Tarn, Mok's mother, that all soldiers are required to report for duty. Tarn argues with the captain to buy time while Mok slips out the back door because she already lost her husband in the war and doesn't want to lose her children as well. Mek calls Mok out for being a coward and constantly running away from his problems when he encounters him in the woods. Reminding him that he never wanted to be a soldier like the rest of the family, Mok mockingly salutes him and declares he won't stay to be slaughtered. Mok asks Mek to run away together when Mek tells him he's going to become an uncle, but Mek declines because he wants to keep his loved ones safe. Mok must deal with his internal conflict after Mek leaves. The Japanese army is massacring Thai soldiers on the beach. The seawater is turning red as bodies are being dropped carelessly all over the place. When Mok returns, he quickly rejoins his teammates, who flee in terror to hide. In an attempt to persuade them to fight, the captain begins to yell at them, but he is instantly killed by a bullet. Maul persuades his team to run as the fighting begins to slow down. A Japanese box washes up nearby. It opens abruptly, and a zombie emerges. Later, in the woods, the young soldiers continue running, but something is moving quickly among the trees, leaping on the men one by one to kill them. Mok realizes he is the last soldier standing after lots of running. To make matters worse, he entered a swamp and is now slowly sinking. His entire body submerges in water in a matter of seconds. A soldier reaches into the water and pulls Mok out at that precise moment. Mok takes a deep breath and looks up, horrified to discover that a zombie has saved him from certain death. The swamp is actually surrounded by all of his teammates, demonstrating their transformation. The news is confirmed to the Thai government, which has asked for a ceasefire and is currently in talks with Japan, by Kaido and the Thai military leaders in the office. A patrol team arrives at the forest shortly after and finds bones dangling from a vine. The zombies emerge from hiding to attack when this vine suddenly begins to tremble. The zombies are taken down as soon as the patrol opens fire. When the soldiers attempt to recover the bodies after shooting at random for a few minutes, they discover that the zombies have vanished. When they turn around, they discover that a zombie is feeding on their leader's head, which is missing half of it. The rest of the zombies quickly reappear and launch a surprise attack on them. A mother is frantically searching for her husband at the base. Pen, who works there as a nurse, comforts her by telling her that the search teams will soon find everyone. Thai citizens are asked to support the Japanese troops after the radio declares that the negotiations were successful and that Japan and Thailand are now friends. Mek eventually finds his brother in the forest, but all he finds are fragments of bodies and a dying fire. He hears a noise out of nowhere and follows it to a spike pit, where he sees a soldier down there. In an attempt to assist the man, Mek climbs into the pit and ties a rope around a tree. To find a zombie without a face, however, has him horrified. He is attacked by the zombie right away, so Mek grabs a spike to fight back. Mek pushes the zombie back and impales his head after a brief struggle. The zombie continues to move, though. Mek then grabs the rope and begins to climb out, but the zombie grabs his leg and pulls him down, causing him to drop his pocket watch by accident. Mek manages to seize a pike from the fading fire as he falls. The zombie is instantly set on fire by the sparks, which ultimately kills him. Mek's eye is also harmed by a single spark. Mok awakens on the beach beach with more zombies and mutilated bodies all around. He thinks about what happened in the forest as he continues to watch a butterfly. It turns out that Mock was also bitten and turned into a zombie. Mock jumped on a young girl while the other zombies feasted, and a woman had her organs torn out. Now, when Mock realizes he's turned into a monster, he yells in frustration. Mech tells his superiors what he saw when he returns to the base. Kaido begs Mech for the location while holding the now empty box. After that, Kaido plays a few videos to review previous studies. His biological weapon, which was tested on 2 animal groups, is thought to be a virus. The survivors from Group 1 showed impressive strength, aggression, and effective combative behavior. There were indications of cannibalism as well. The second group's survivors, however, refrained from attacking. They appeared to have some self-control despite their strength and speed. Mock observes the fragments of bodies on the ground in the forest, but he remains motionless. He finds and picks up his brother's watch near the pit. He starts to cry when he sees a picture of his parents, but this crying quickly turns into roaring, and the other zombies join in. Mech searches the patients in the medical tents for his brother, but he is unsuccessful. He is overheard conversing by a survivor, who tells him he saw Mock earlier. Mech is frantically trying to find out where, but his commander has interrupted him by asking him to attend a meeting. A Japanese soldier is reprimanded in the main tent for misplacing the box, so he uses a knife to deal with his shame. Kaido explains that his biological weapon got out of the box and can also transform people into zombies when the commander and Mech arrive. Captain Nakamura forbids the commander from reporting this. He shows them an official document from the Thai military leaders that compels Mech and his commander to join the destroyer task force in order to capture all the zombies alive. He explains that he has a plan to handle this while keeping it a secret. Mock watches as the other zombies in the forest eat any body they find on the ground. He feels guilty because he remembers running after the girl and continuing to eat her. Mock tries to commit suicide by picking up a gun, but his body suddenly heats up and begins to secrete an odd liquid that sets his hands on fire. Another zombie covers his entire body with mud and pushes him into the mud to put out the fire before his entire body burns down. Kaido is still reviewing the research at the same time. The response was favorable when a higher dose of the virus was injected. They discovered that specimens were capable of self-combustion during particularly stressful or emotional moments. Kaido therefore realizes that fire is the zombie's weakness. The virus started to change when it was tested on humans. A few hours later, Mock awakens in a cave where all of the zombies have just woken up from their slumber. Leader of the pack. When Nu brings an animal for dinner, the animals roar at him in desperation, but Nu roars louder and turns to make them submit. The zombies race to eat the animal after Nu leaves. Mock finds Nu in a cave corner crying as he looks at pictures of his wife and the poem she wrote him. This makes Mock look at his parents' picture once more and remembers the day the captain visited his house to enlist Mech. Mock got his bed and sang a crude song about Mech being killed in combat, which the others found offensive, so he was relieved that his brother would no longer be around. Mock cries and finds the same melancholy in Nu's howling in the present. Mock follows Nu after he leaves the cave and finds the pictures in the water. Because he is seeing his wife's ghost in his hallucinations, Nu is standing in the river and looking straight ahead. Putting Nu through lots of grief and stress, she shares loving words and recites the poem. Nu's body turns into ashes after yelling in frustration, which touches a plant to make it bloom. The other zombies, meanwhile, are still hungry despite feeding on a large animal. When one of them manages to speak, he tells his friends that Japan is to blame for their condition. For revenge, they ought to eat them. The task force finds a massacre in the forest. They continue to search for the zombies by following the path of devastation because there is blood, flesh, and limbs all over the place. Nakamura makes his team hide when they finally hear a noise close by. To spill some blood, he then pulls out a knife. The set instantly draws a zombie, who comes over to Nakamura. However, a soldier shoots him with a harpoon to capture him before he can launch an attack. The captured zombie is housed in a cage at the base. He complains that the soldiers are torturing him by throwing hot water at him. He thinks it would be preferable to kill the creature, but Kaido wants to catch every zombie and keep them alive so he can study them. When the soldier takes the harpoon out of his body and shakes the cage bars, a zombie shoots him multiple times. Despite his excruciating pain, the zombie is not going to die. When a civilian is later brought in, the zombie instantly recognizes him as his father. The father demands to know what they did to his son, and they both cry for one another. The zombie has a breakdown after Nakamura suddenly stabs the father in the head. Mech goes insane right away, so his commander pulls him away and tells him they are no longer in charge. When the zombie keeps crying and reaching for his father, Nakamura's men make him breathe poison gas. The commander must drag Nakamura back back after an enraged mech leaps on him and punches him. Nakamura tells the commander to deal with his men while brandishing his sword at them. Reluctantly, the commander tells Mech that he has been released from the mission and needs to return home. The zombie manages to open the cage at that precise moment and escape. The creature begins devouring his own father, and the soldiers watch in disbelief. Mach finds the zombies talking about their previous lives when he returns to the cave. When they were forced to join the army, they all had dreams for the future that they had to abandon. When one of them confesses that he wanted to sing, he shares a song, and soon everyone is joining in. They become aware that one of them is absent at that precise moment. They decide to search for him as a result. To try to ward off the evil creatures, locals in a nearby village are performing a unique ritual. The locals are soon surrounded by zombies, who begin feeding on them. When a mother and her daughter discover that one of the monsters is their cherished father and husband, they are startled. Pin must stop to fix the light while riding her bicycle home. She screams when she suddenly sees someone walking, even though it's just a few legs. Unaware that Mach is getting closer to the house, Tarn is at home praying for her son's safe return. She closes the window after a picture falls off the wall because she sees it as a bad omen. Mick suddenly tells her to stay inside as she goes outside to smoke. Additionally, he explains that his brother is most likely still alive. Tarn gives him a hug in appreciation for the good news. As he realizes he can't be with them again, Mach overhears everything and cries. He leaves as a result. Pin shows up at that precise moment and tells them what she saw. Mick pulls out a gun right away and hands it to Tarn, telling her to shoot anything odd and set it on fire if it continues to move. A monk wearing a veil is meditating in the forest. The monk instantly recognizes a zombie who tries to approach him as his son. He then begins to pray. Before leaving, the zombie also prays and falls to his knees. A zombie is pursuing the mother and her child nearby. The zombie manages to catch up to them when the girl falls, but he stops when he recognizes his daughter. The commander and his right hand arrive at that precise moment, and the soldier gets ready to shoot, but the commander stops him. The zombie attempts to communicate by saying the name of his daughter. Because her father is hurt, the girl touches his face and cries. The task force shows up just as the zombie is going to touch her head. The mother drags the girl away before the soldiers shoot their target, but the soldiers miss their target and end up killing both the woman and the child. The soldiers open fire when the rest of the zombies show up. The commander recognizes them as his men, so he chooses to fight for them by firing at the Japanese soldiers. Sadly, his right hand is killed right away. When the commander is also shot, he tells Mach to run before he dies when he sees him among the zombies. Mach cries for the commander's death while holding his body. Mick arrives at that precise moment and sees the zombies eat the task force. A soldier's entire rib cage is being torn out by a creature. He then shoots Mach in the shoulder after realizing that he has turned into a monster. Before he takes off running, Mach says his brother's name. Mick shoots him once more, though. Mach is still pleading in desperation, but when Mick fires a third time, his brother falls off a cliff. Feeling bad about what he died for, Mick falls and yells in grief. Mach turns and attacks him right away. Soon after, Mick awakens to discover that he is also a zombie. Kaido tells Nakamura Jr. at the base that keeping the zombies alive is too risky for his father. Nakamura Jr. accuses Kaido of treason as he watches a video that shows how the zombie ash affects nature. Kaito explains that he would prefer to be a traitor rather than allow the zombies to kill more people. Pin, Tarn, and the monk are among the surviving civilians who are transported to a safe house in the morning. The Japanese soldiers claim to have found the bodies of the young Thai recruits and need to identify them, so they bring pictures of them. When the civilians see their sons' faces on the board, they all have a breakdown. Nakamura tells the Thai commander that they must kill all civilians because there can be no eyewitnesses after putting a zombie in the box. They were victims of war, according to the official narrative. The commander expresses dissatisfaction, but Nakamura reveals that this was already agreed upon by both governments. Mach sees some zombies eat a person in the cave who he recognizes as an old friend. The zombies attack him after he yells at them, so there's a fight. Mick rushes to help his brother when he sees that he is being overpowered and reveals that he has developed incredible strength. He easily defeats the entire group and roars at them in rage, causing them to fall to their knees and submit. Another zombie enters the cave at that very moment. He explains that despite being subjected to torture and capture, he was able to flee. He also shares the news that their parents will soon be put to death. Mick refuses to abandon his family and calls his brother a coward once more, but Mach thinks it's a trap to entice them out. While Nakamura and his soldiers watch from their hiding place, a soldier in the forest is leading the civilians under the pretense of prayer. When Nakamura Jr. tries to communicate with his father, he is disregarded. The civilians have a breakdown when they see what their sons have turned into when the zombies soon arrive. arrive. Then Nakamura tells his men to start firing, which causes the civilians to start dying. They all fall lifeless to the ground one by one. As they cry out in grief, the zombies run to hold their dying relatives. While Mick cries over Penn, Mach holds onto his mother. Mick decides to bite his girlfriend after some deliberation, keeping her alive by transforming her. Nakamura presses a button at that precise moment to make a cage emerge from a heap of leaves and trap every zombie. Mick bites his mother as a soldier locks the cage, but she doesn't transform because it's too late. The soldier is bitten by another zombie at the lock, causing him to run back to the team. The soldier transforms into a zombie in just a matter of minutes and attempts to attack the rest of the task force. To bring him down, Nakamura pulls out his sword and slashes his neck. Mick's strength causes the lock to break as the zombies continue to shake the cage in rage. The task force is then attacked by the zombies, and soon after, a number of new creatures created from Japanese men who have been bitten appear. 2 grenades are thrown by a horrified Nakamura, and the explosion manages to kill a few zombies, but the majority run away. Penn is growing accustomed to being a zombie in the forest. As his eyes turn black, Mick confesses to stealing a sword from a fallen soldier and declares his desire for revenge. He gives a speech to persuade the other zombies to support him, but Mach becomes concerned when his brother suggests that they make more zombies for their team because he believes that other zombies shouldn't have to endure the same suffering as them. Another zombie laments that this revenge will only end with more deaths because he lost his brother in the explosion. Penn jumps in to serve as a shield and is killed when Mick grabs the sword to punish him. Mick doesn't respond as Mach cries out in grief. He claims to have a plan after killing the other zombie. Unable to deal with so many emotions, Mach wakes up the following morning thinking about his family and all the crazy things that have happened over the last few days. His body begins to turn into ash as he suddenly sees a hallucination of his family. He once again assumes the appearance of a zombie when he remembers his brother calling him a coward who doesn't fight for anything. Nakamura storms into Kaido's tent at the base and shoots him in the head. He then tells his men to get the flamethrower after searching through all of Kaido's notes and discovering that the zombies are not resistant to fire. A short while later, Nakamura and his men are pursuing a few zombies through the forest. They eventually arrive at a cave where they find thousands of fireflies during the pursuit. All of the bugs abruptly vanish, and the zombies attack using the darkness. The soldiers fire right away, but the zombies are not killed by the bullets, so they can easily advance and begin biting the task force members one by one. The zombies are forced to run away when a man uses the flamethrower, which results in another chase. The task force finds the zombies feeding on one of its soldiers, so, while running to hide in a small passage, they start to fire again. The Japanese soldiers are mercilessly killed one by one as the zombies pursue them. The only person who manages to escape is Nakamura, who leaves the passage and runs until he falls into a pool. He stands against the wall and swiftly covers his entire body with mud. As a result, the zombies don't notice him and continue walking when they search for him. Nakamura then begins to move extremely cautiously in preparation for a surprise attack plan, but a firefly shows up and gives his location away. As a result, the zombies pursue him back. When Nakamura tries to turn on the flamethrower, the mud gets in the way. The fallen Japanese soldiers begin to transform as the zombies bite Nakamura. Nakamura soon turns into a zombie as well. Mach also shows up at the same time and finds the flamethrower on the ground. The Thai zombies find Mach obstructing the cave entrance as they attempt to escape. Mick's memories are triggered when Mach cries for his brother and his teammates. He salutes Mach, who uses the flamethrower to set them all on fire, and his eyes go back to normal. When they have finished transforming, Nakamura and the task force also visit the entrance. Mick and his men leap on them right away in order to spread the flames and ensure that everyone dies together. Mach jumps in to meet his own demise after remembering his friends one last time. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.